Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is the number 1 Kansas 135er bantamweight, the number 2 Midwest bantamweight, right? He's 7-0, right? He's one of my good friends. We trained together. He's one of the first people that taught me a lot of the practices that I use, daily at this point. And, I couldn't be more impressed with the person I met and the person I see now. And his name is Alejandro Gomez. What's up, Gomi?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me.
Now I have something that I thought you'd find amusing because I was going through some old pictures and your nickname is Baby Shark, right? Now,
yes.
This is the baby shark that I imagine, and I'll show it to them up on front. So it's a little shark with
Arsenal.
Because you got a
Weapons.
lot of fucking weapons. And, well, quick thing. I just want to mention, you had that fight against, was it Lucitt?
My last one, Peter Lucitt. Yep.
Oh my gosh. I was rewatching that today on MMA Futures. So you had full dominant mount or guillotine, right? And it was tight.
I went her Manson guillotine.
And
he
went,
rolled over. I let it go, and I stayed in mount to strike.
And then what they said your ankles were together, and then they weren't, and then he reversed it.
Yeah. As soon as I lost control of his hips, he bumped and swept.
Oh my gosh. And then from there, it was like this. And then I just watched him go, no, no, no. And I saw you reach and grab that arm. And I'm like, no shit. And you're pulling, and he goes, and I go, holy fuck. The crowd went nuts. Everyone's crazy.
It was sick, bro. I feeling the feeling of beating him after like he had beat so many Glory people before that was
that was
intense.
Who did you at the post fight whatever with Jeff Molina? You said he beat some guys. Who did he beat from?
Well, he beat early in his career. He beat Devontae Frencher.
Okay.
He beat Ty Schrader on FAC, and he beat Lucas DaCosta.
That's right.
My teammate at Overland Park, and he didn't like. I feel like he just wrestled.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those, and he caught Lucas with just something that was very unorthodox.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he beat them by like skill. So I was like, I need to expose him.
Yeah.
I need to, he looks unbeatable. I need to beat him.
Yeah. Well, he looked very, very beatable. And there was something, you look giant. Like when you're like, I'm watching and I just see you like this and I see like traps and definition. And my first instinct was like, I think I get it why he could throw me around so much.
It's just the camera. It's just the camera.
It's just the camera. It adds 10 pounds.
It adds 10 pounds.
And here. And then you said you wanted to go one more AMI at 125.
Yep. And I have that lined up currently at December 9th, FAC. I have a
super.
125 opponent.
We're going to need some tickets.
I got you.
We're going to need some tickets. Okay, cool. So are you allowed to release any of that? Or you just say you have an opponent? Do you know who it is, or you just leave it up?
They haven't sent a contract yet, so
okay.
I'm not going to say like a name or anything because those change all the time.
That is true. I have noticed that with Glory guys.
But hopefully this opponent stays, and making the weight's probably going to be just as easy.
Right. I mean, like I said, you came in, and Lucitt looked like a pretty athletic guy. I mean, he looked like he was big-ish, right? From 135.
He's strong for sure. Definitely strong.
And I was like, but Gomi just looks like he's going to manhandle him. And for the most part, like I said, that round 1, it's kind of like, okay, I can feel it out. I've never been in an octagon, obviously. But after round 2, like when I'm watching that fight over, you are up like this. And he's just kind of like, oh shit. Like he's like, I'm not that ready. Like I'm not as ready as you are. And then of course that's when you got the armbar. And I was like, fucking go Gomi. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's like we train 5-minute rounds after every class, and I
yes they do.
And most days I do 10 of them. So either like 5 MMA and then 5 grappling. And I'm going as hard as I can. I try and keep the same pace. So like most people can't hang at that pace for that long.
That is true.
Just naturally their cardio. So I like that's like, and it also like it looks like I'm stronger than him, but he just started out really strong, and then I stayed the same. And as he weakened, I just like stayed there.
I forgot if it was someone in the MMA community or someone who had brought that up, but it was always like, yes, can you come out? You know, like most people on the street, they like, oh, I think I can fight. And they just throw wide and throw as much as they can.
Mm-hmm.
They give you 100%. You're like, if I can survive 20 seconds of you,
they're going to gas.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right? You've had too much to drink, probably, you know, and I even have a little bit of knowledge, but like most of these glory fights, when it goes into those deeper rounds or needing that cardio, it's there.
Oh,
and it's
sure.
never not I was with Sam, and I call it sweat equity, man.
Yes.
Those mats, there's just nothing but hard work that's there. And you're like, oh, if I can do 5 minutes, then I can do 3 minutes. I mean, it's
9 minutes is nothing compared to what we do in the room.
Well, and then you have like the long days on Saturday and shit like that I always loved. But I'm just so glad that like I get to talk to you, because there's some stuff that I've always wanted to say that, for example, Glory in Overland Park, like, and all the people that are there, you guys literally changed my life and my perspective, and I'll tell you why. Now, when I walked in that gym, we all kind of walk in with something, like whether it's insecurity or some kind of baggage. Yeah. Right? And if you don't know you have any, you find it, and then you learn to kind of overcome that.
Exactly.
Right. And so by doing that, it was like I had this insecurity of like, I just want something in my life. Right? I want to have something. So for me, that was like, let me get a belt or a trophy and make me feel rewarded, right? Which is the wrong attitude.
Validation.
Validation, right? Turns out I didn't need to go that far for that validation. And it was because of you, because like when we would grapple, or it was mostly jiu-jitsu, because the depth of knowledge that not only Trey offers, but like you would offer me. Any question, no matter how dumb. And I remember asking one, like, head was here, and you were like, you're like, yeah, just go ahead, and no matter, and could be the same question 3 times in a row. You're like, yeah, just go, put it here, pull, right? I'm like, okay, no big deal. So it wasn't like you guys have patience, you guys, and even hearing it 3 times, but then finally getting it or getting out of something is that validation. It's like, to me, it was like any of my situations outside of this gym, I can get out of it or choose where it goes, just like I can right here on the mat.
You have control over it.
Right.
Really.
And then that allowed me to control emotions. And then after controlling emotions, I was then able to learn the discipline that you guys teach, which also comes from that sweat equity. I mean, to be like, because, I remember I'd walk off at like a 2 round at the beginning. I'm like, ooh, I'm gassed. And then I remember Trey looked at me. He goes, just 2. And that it's enough to make me go, like a second wind came back, and I go, I'll do 3. Right. Yeah, and then it goes 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Next class.
And then you're like, oh, wow. And then, I remember, like I said, leaving and doing all of that. I was like, I love it there. And I really hate that I had to be gone for this amount of time. But I do very soon plan to come back. A lot of new things happened, new job. Means,
look at this.
Yeah, I hope.
This is impressive.
I told Sam, I hope this is the vibe.
Oh, this is the vibe. This is definitely the vibe.
Well, perfect. And so and then I realized once I got in here, and it kind of became, like I said, we talked off of camera about outside circumstances that I couldn't control. It's like I leaned back on jiu-jitsu. I'm like, great, okay, I can't let emotions run high, right? It's not in my hands. But I can do what I can with what I have. And you were a huge mentor of mine when it comes to being in that place, along with Trey and Lucas and, all the glory guys, Nick. I have a hilarious story that I want to tell Nick. I'm going to get him in here, and I'm going to be like, yeah, I totally did this or whatever. And he's going to be like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
And I'm like, come, give me a little, But like, I was just wanting to say, how's because I know Trey, he's having a baby, isn't he?
Yes, he's expecting a beautiful little girl. December 10th, due date. He's actually today. He's at his baby shower.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, hey Trey, congratulations.
Yes, congrats.
She's gonna be adorable. That's something funny that I find with fighters too. Like if you look at most fighters, their children are They have girls all the time. Joe Rogan mentioned that, and I started looking through it, and I go, oh, they always like the toughest guys. They always have girls.
The universe tends to bring balance. It's like,
We don't need, like,
you've
a
been masculine
generation
this
of-
whole time. Now you have to be feminine for the sake of your child.
You gotta bring you down to the level. But a lot of it, I was really surprised that being with like I said, with Sam, this brotherhood that you develop. So like when I saw you with that fly ass jacket walking through, I'm like, one, sweet, he didn't get lost on the way here, and two, it was like, holy fuck, like I haven't seen you in forever. So I want to know about, I saw you at 1-0. I don't know about any of the other 6. Like, are you still over in the park? You still with Trey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
were you still there when I began working at the gym?
Yes.
Gotcha. So I started working there after my 3rd fight.
Okay. Maybe it was there a little longer than expected.
Yeah, Vance Harrington on B2 when I fought him.
Right.
Right after that in May, I started working as the general manager of the Overland Park location for Glory. And then Trey being my coach. So it's like I'm very grateful to him because he gave me the opportunity to pretty much live the life of a professional athlete. Like
that's fucking great.
Yeah, like I clean the gym. I help members sign up. I help coach. I pretty much do whatever the gym needs me to do, but it gives me the opportunity to train whatever classes I want.
Mm-hmm.
Use the facility like pretty much all day. So it's given me such an opportunity, and I feel like that's why I've grown so much in such a short amount of time, because it's literally my life. And like what you said was how jiu-jitsu and the gym changed your perspective or your outlook on life. It completely reversed mine. Like
how so?
Like it was, so I got into MMA because I graduated during the quarantine. So I wrestled in college.
Okay. Yeah, I could tell by those giant traps that would throw me around.
So I wrestled in college, and I graduated during the quarantine, and the quarantine just messed up everything. Like I didn't have my job that was lined up anymore. I was having relationship issues, and I felt very small in that time period, and I felt very insecure. And I just needed something. So I started weightlifting. I was like, oh, what if I gain weight and just be huge? It's really hard for me to gain weight if I try. It's like my metabolism's too fast.
You're too fast. I remember that was the thing I would always say in the gym. I'm like, hey, Gomi, I have oh shit, where'd you go? Like, it was like, you're already on my back.
It's just in general, I'm tend to function at a high speed.
You're the Flash.
But I was feeling so trapped, and I was like, well, my brother does Muay Thai kickboxing, and he's trained for a long time, also wrestled in high school, but he got into the MMA and the fighting before me. And after my freshman year of college, we went to Thailand for a month. He brought me with him.
Oh, that's going to be life-changing.
Yeah, we trained at Tiger Muay Thai. Like, we trained in Bangkok. Like, it was a crazy experience. I was only there for a month. So I spent a week in Bangkok and 3 weeks in Tiger Muay Thai on Phuket, the island.
Yes.
So that was super awesome.
That's like a dream.
Yeah, it's like a dream. I wish I could do it now and I could really appreciate it. But it was more like just a vacation where I trained and like learned a little bit of Muay Thai.
Wasted.
Wasted on 20-year-old me.
Wasted.
Or 19. I think it was 19 at the time.
It had to have left an impression. No.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
But during this time, I was like, well, I'm kind of over wrestling. Like I'm not trying to go Olympic with it. And there's not much you can do after college. So I was like, well, I need to do something else. So I knew I was moving to Kansas City. And I was like, well, let me just look like what fighting gyms there are, and like I moved to Shawnee.
I've been to Bangkok.
Yeah,
I've been to Phuket. It's fine. I know my thing. I know my way around.
Yeah, so I was like, well, what if I just start that, and like maybe that'll get me out of it. And I was looking out, and I saw like I moved to Shawnee Mission, and I was like, there was like Title MMA. Yeah, there was like some boxing gyms, and I was like, well, I don't want to do any of that. But then I was driving down.
Yeah, you don't.
I was driving down Metcalf, and I saw Glory MMA Overland Park, and I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And it wasn't even. It was opening month. It was right when Trey opened the gym.
Oh, no shit. And what is
Uh,
it, summertime?
yeah, it's like I think it's June of 2020 when he opened. It's
Yep.
like opening month. He's not even on like Google Maps yet, so I didn't even know he was there when I Google searched him. And I'm driving down. I'm like, I have to stop there, so I stop, and no one's in the gym but Trey and Lucas DaCosta, and they're hitting mitts, and I'm just looking at him hit mitts, and I'm just like, oh gosh, that guy's good.
That's
Like
what you said?
yeah, I was like, oh gosh, that guy knows what he's doing. And then I
That's-
waited for him to be done, and then Trey came over and talked to me, and I was like, hi, I wanna learn how to fight. And he's like, oh, then this is the place you want to be. And then we talked a little more, and it was really like the way Trey talked about martial arts and like
Yes.
the way he interacted about it. I was like, this guy gets it.
He does.
And
Very much so.
I signed up on the phone like a week later, and I was like, well, I still live in my college town, but I'll move there in August. So I moved there in August. I start training like 3 times a week. I'm working construction at the time because that's the only job I could find.
Right.
And I'm starting to get a little better. He knows I've wrestled before, so I have a little bit going for me. And he's like, well, you need to train every day. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I started training Monday through Friday, but then it started getting too much with the job. So I quit my job, got another job.
Okay, I think I remember this
Yeah.
transitional period.
Yeah,
Okay,
I quit.
Okay.
I quit in that span of time. I think in like 2 months, I quit 4 different jobs. I was in construction. I quit because it was interfering with training. I was in like a print shop, like a warehouse print shop, doing like jersey numbers
Okay, yeah.
and like screen printing them with ink. Like just 1, 2, 3, all the way up to like 80, and then going 1, 2, 3.
Oh no.
Quit that after 2 weeks. Then the third job was another physical labor job. I quit, and then I signed up for a swim instructor, and
There
then
you go.
they had me doing the online training before I got hired because
this story's about to go somewhere.
Yeah, so I got hired. They had me doing the online training, and like I was just watching these like videos, and I was like, I can't act like this because they wanted me to be like, all right, kiddos, I was like, I'll teach kids how to swim. I've teach kids how to wrestle before, but I'm not acting like this. Like I'm not giving out stickers. I'm not giving out lollipops. I was beyond that.
The idea that you could have been like, I put my kid on swim lessons, and the idea that Gomi would be like, man, do you want a fucking sticker? Well, you don't get one because you didn't finish all your laps, you know? And
I'm not that hard on kids, but I'm not the most empathetic for children.
Well, it's like, hey, that is true. You're not abrasive or brash and the best part about you as a teammate is that you're also not flashy to us, right?
Thank you.
We're all humble. You're all humble. You all know that like there's a laser vision to where you want to go, right? But you're not going to get there if you're all condescending a-holes.
That's true.
Right?
That's very true.
Right? If you're like I said, the Joaquin Buckley, the asshole who in this Missouri area known whatever, like you can't find people now, right? There has to be this brotherhood culture, and Overland Park had it perfect. And when I tell you I walked in
Still
there,
has it perfect.
Oh yeah. No, I would totally. Every Glory location like I've been to, it's the same. I don't understand how they've done such a good job of keeping it all the same, right? They're taught the martial art way is what I'll call it, which is how Trey talks. This is like the way of the samurai. This is how you do these things. It's the art of war, right? But it's also you can have no knowledge and come in and then leave a different person in like 4 months. I remember I didn't know how to block a kick, man. And then they were like,
a lot of people don't.
Put your hand and then this and find it. Yeah, like it's like
start from the top so you don't eat a head kick instead.
Yeah. I'm like, I've seen those on TV. We don't want them. Right? And so, and the idea that you drove by, right? Not even living there.
Just
right?
Completely random.
I at this point, just because of everything that I've gone through currently and just getting in this room, setting all this up and then meeting you guys, having you guys come in here right? I do not believe in random chance. I do not believe in like circumstance. Dude, this is like, I'm like living in this bubble of like, I don't know what this is, but destiny, I guess you want to call it.
Fate.
And your fate and your destiny, since I met you, was it 3 years ago? A few years ago? It was right 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So,
one and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, 'cause I went to Gladstone, met Sam, and then came to Overland Park after that. But it's just like you got a fate that looks super bright. I can definitely see you be like, Gomi's on TV. Gomi's on TV. Like, I'm like, he's on the UFC. I'm like, who you got? And then next thing you know, I'm looking up DraftKings. I'm like, oh, I'm putting money on Gomi. You know, Gomi's gonna win. Do you see those traps? Like, I'm just like,
well, I'm still an amateur, so let's slow down. Let's slow down on that.
I'm feeling this destiny vibe. I don't know about you, but
I do have a lot of faith in myself.
As you should.
I can see that too.
Well, and like, I do remember, like I said, I'll just not use those because I'm feeling this conversation. The depth that, I don't know, I've danced around it, but like when I walked in there, like there was a point when I first was there, I did not want to be here. I was like, I'm done. Like, life's tough. I'm done. Right? And then just this little act of discipline and like kindness changed the way that I looked at the circumstance. So like, I really can't. So I can't thank you guys enough, of course. And then for just being you guys, of course.
Oh, thank you.
But at the same time, teaching a kid that there's more out there, right? And then finally getting to see it to fruition, even as simple as like, Gomi didn't choke me this round. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's those little victories that make such a big difference. And like there's rounds where like I'm just getting demolished by Trey. I'm like, okay, but he didn't tap me.
Right.
Or like, oh, I made him have to switch to this transition. It's like those little rounds, because everyone assumes that I'm dominating everyone in the room. I'm not. Like,
right.
3 out of 5 rounds I'm getting my ass kicked. Especially in pure jiu-jitsu. Like, if I can't punch you, I mean, like, it kind of throws a hole in my.
I can't bash you in the face.
Yeah, it kind of throws a hole in my game. I do think I'm pretty good at no gi, but like gi, it's like I love gi jiu-jitsu, and it's super fun. It's more like a puzzle to me. It's like a game,
right?
More than like no gi and MMA. I feel is more like combat, right? And it's like a little more intense, but like I'm much slower, much more methodical in gi. And dude, there's some things you can do with the gi that I just don't understand yet.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Trey would utilize the gi, like go reach under, grab the gi, pull the gi.
Lapel chokes.
I'm like, how'd you get underneath?
There's some positions where I'm just like, oh, I'm out, and then suddenly like a gi is wrapped around my neck, and I'm like, I'm dying.
Yeah, you're like, my brain says there's no blood.
Yeah, and I'm like, abort mission.
And something else I tried during this little period of time, and it was really beneficial to striking. So those big Fairfax gloves behind you, those big yellow ones. So those are my Muay Thai gloves. So there's the Muay Thai one that's close up here.
Yeah.
So I started going there for like doing bag work and working out.
Nice.
And so we're getting back in the flow. We haven't been there for a little bit of time. Had to set this thing up, but there was something that I saw in the opportunity, and we'll do this, and then I'm gonna get into a little bit of like about you,
okay,
and some personal things. But there's a huge pot of like talent. Right? Even though you said amateur, that's still a huge accomplishment, right? Because most people, if they get in there only a couple times, and then they're like, great, I got the satisfaction of, I got the short-sighted, I'm a fighter now.
Yeah.
And I can prove it by being 2-0,
yeah.
Right? And you're like, yeah, but maybe, you weren't trained, you just wanted to get in, get out, and have this quick reward.
Yeah, some people do it for a bucket list thing, and some people just fall in love with the idea of being a fighter. Like, they think they're cool on TV, and they're like, yeah, I want to do that. But then they get in the room and they drill, and they're like, oh, damn, this is hard.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember, have you been there for any of those new people who come in?
Of course, yeah.
What do you have a favorite story of like the new people who come in? Because one of them is they said that right to Trey, and I'm like, you guys are so done.
I don't have a favorite story of the people that come in, because when they come in, like we haven't really we haven't really had a problem at the gym. Like
Okay,
they're
good.
not. We have like there's some people that are kind of bros that come in and try it.
Yeah.
But no one really caused when I've been there, then no one really has caused an issue.
Mhm.
But I do get a lot of phone calls of people asking questions, and some of them are like, I always answer the phone. I always answer questions. They have good questions.
Right.
One person called and was asking about being on the fight team. And like they asked about the membership. They asked about like how can I try a class at the gym,
Right, which
like
is
that.
great to ask because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is the place.
Yeah, like
Just like you
if
did.
you want to do anything in MMA, Glory is the place.
Right.
Like in the Midwest, like you're not going to find a better gym, a more
No.
high level gym, a more technical gym, better training partners. Like if you're
Mhm.
not at Glory, you're going to get beaten by someone by Glory.
Yeah.
And if you beat someone from Glory,
They're gonna come back and do what you did to them.
I mean, you're just going to fight another one of the 50 people on the roster in your weight class.
Yeah.
So, but the phone call I got, I answered his questions, and then he said, well, what if I want to be on the fight team? What if I want to compete? And I was like, oh, well, we have a minimum of 6 months. You have to train here under us. It could go faster. It could go shorter or faster or longer, depending on like your progression.
Right.
But a minimum, like a ballpark 6 months.
Right.
Of training here, so we know you're ready. Like we don't just like let people just get in the cage, because then that's on us. If they get hurt or if they just have a bad performance, like that's a representation of our training.
Exactly.
So we want only the highest level on the fight team. But this guy was so adamant on he was ready. He's like, well, I mean, I did 6 years of karate, and I'm already pretty good at jiu-jitsu. So if I come in there and just like wreck everybody, can I have a fight? And I was like,
oh no.
Well, I mean, if you're good in the room, we're still gonna make you wait to see if like you're a team player. Like if you're just
Patience
causing problems in our gym, like that's gonna be different. And it's
I have 6 years of karate. Bruce Lee's my father.
Yeah. But what the reason why this is my favorite phone call is because we get a bunch of phone calls of people like this. But this guy said, like his name was like the most generic, like John Johnson, like just like the most generic like name you could think of. And he's like, well, I want John Johnson to be the next like big thing. Like I want to be the next Khabib. I want to be the next Conor McGregor.
Oh,
and I was like, whoa, slow. I was like, at that point, I'm like, slow down. Like
You're
that. I was like, okay, come in and try a class.
Yeah.
We'll talk about membership. We'll talk about being on the fight team. But you have to get in here first so we can see how good you are.
Yeah.
And he never showed up.
I was going to say, I'm like, how did John Johnson do?
No, he didn't. He never showed up. We never saw him.
Well,
and if he did show up, he was a completely different person.
And his karate did not work.
Yeah.
He's like, do I chop to the throat? By that time, he's already on the ground. He's like, wait, I thought I knew jiu-jitsu. And I remember I came to Trey with the same thing. And I was like, oh, I want to be on the fight team.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and not only is it a sacrifice of time, but something that I found that suffers is relationships with other people. Mm-hmm. So if it's your family members, if it's, girlfriends, because that happened like when I was doing this and doing that. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I couldn't hold one. They're like, where are you? I'm like, I'm doing my shit. Like I'm doing my stuff. I'm doing
training.
My dreams.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm training. And they're like, well, how long are you there? I'm like, 4 hours.
Yeah,
two
like, classes.
They're like, what else do you do? I go, well, I do the podcast after that. And they go, when do you sleep? And I'm like, hopefully next to you at like midnight
after
or
the podcast.
Yeah, and it's just kind of hard. And I understand that but I try and make that abundantly clear. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I'm wanted to add you to my life. But my life is very stressful in terms of like, I got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And so how did so you said your brother had already done this.
Yeah, but my brother was 4 years in the Air Force and then got out and had veteran status, and then he started traveling. So he like did everything up front, got all the benefits, and then started to live his life.
Smart.
I went to college because that's what my mom told me to do, so I did. I got to college and I was like, well, what now?
Yeah.
So I didn't really have like a life plan. So the fighting thing is definitely like a twist of fate.
Oh yeah. Destiny.
But I mean, like in college, I was always very like a social person, and I cared a lot about. I was very empathetic, and I cared a lot about what other people thought of me, and I cared a lot about other people, and I still care about other people. But
Right.
I cared about like a stranger could walk up to me and be like, "Can I talk about my problems?" And I was like, "Sure."
That's exactly who you are.
Sure.
If there's Gomi in a nutshell, that's it right there.
But I found that it's like I can do that for people at the gym now, and I could do that for people in my immediately like I live with other fighters, but it's like I had trouble adapting that to focusing on myself and focusing on other people, and then now I'm kind of like I'm that guy that's always at the gym. You know, like Trey was that guy, and then when I became general manager, now I'm that guy.
Right.
And like people come up to me with their problems. People like I'm that person that they see every day that they come to the gym.
That's amazing.
So it's definitely like opened my eyes about like people in general and like the different like walks of life, because we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have construction workers, we have people that just train for fun, people that want to be the best, like, and they're all commingling. But what you were saying about like keeping up with relationships, it's like I don't really have time for anything else.
Yeah.
Like the people at the gym are the people that I have time for, because when I'm outside of the gym, I'm trying to do other stuff related to fighting. Like I gotta sell tickets, or maybe I gotta design a t-shirt for my next fight or something like that.
Right.
So it's hard, especially when my schedule is the training schedule of the gym, because I work there.
Right.
Because beforehand I was working a 9 to 5. And then I'd go to the gym, train 4 hours at night, and then go home. And I had weekends off, and like I still have kind of weekends off, but it's like I wasn't at the gym every day. Like I had a little bit. But most of the training is done after work now. And I'm there during those times. So when my college friends who don't necessarily train, like that still live in Kansas City, want to hang out, it's like almost always no.
Right.
And it's like, I'm sorry, like you get off work at 5, I start work at 3:30. You want to go to this thing that starts at 8. I don't get off work until 9:15 when I leave the gym. And by that time I'm just finished training and I'm tired. I want to go home.
I shower at the gym. I gotta go out.
I want to go home. Gotta go feed my dog. Let my dog out.
What's her name?
Sweet Pea.
Sweet Pea.
Sweet Pea. She's my little girl. But these relationships essentially like not fall apart, but they kind of don't get as much attention. And I just had recently I started thinking, I was like, dang, I haven't been invited to anything by those friends in a while. And
I mean, are they good? Are they good for you?
Yeah. They're amazing people.
I'm like, are they like, let's get up at P&L?
No. They're amazing people. They love Frisbee golfing and everything like that.
Oh, that's good.
But it's like, they're amazing people, but they just don't walk the same path that I'm on right now.
Right.
Like they're in a totally different stage of life, and I'm just in a very not normal career path.
Right.
And I was just thinking, I was like, well, I haven't been invited by them in a long time. And I started thinking, I'm like, it's probably because I'm almost always busy. Like I almost always tell them no. So if you tell someone no enough times, they're just going to assume that. But then I recently got invited, and I was like, oh, I feel so bad because I can't.
Like, no, I love Frisbee golf. And I love you guys.
Yeah. I was like, I love you guys. You guys are such good friends, but I really wish I could go with you, but I have to go corner my teammate in this fight on Saturday. So, and it's like, I'm like, those sacrifices are what is going to pay off in the future. Right. In the long run, I believe.
Absolutely. That's why when Karate Joe called about Conor and Khabib, I'm like, you don't get there by like having that attitude.
Yeah. There's no shortcut to the top.
And I think that's like the fighters like you that I talk to, that's understood immediately. They're like, okay, and if they don't get it it falls apart pretty quick, like the relationships. And then, you know, obviously if you have to fight your family, were your family supportive?
Luckily, very luckily, my family was super supportive.
Perfect.
They're my number one cheerleaders. I was telling my mom, like, I was unemployed for like a week at a time in between all those quitting. And I would tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, I'm just not happy at this job. Like, I hate it. I hate the people there. They're just, they give me like 15 minutes for a bathroom break, and like
damn, what is this, a China sweatshop?
that was the print shop.
That's it.
That was the print shop. They like, okay, you got 15 minutes.
Well.
Yeah, it was a sweatshop.
Back to work.
And she's like, well, you should just leave. And I was like, really? I can just quit? And she's like, yeah, you can just quit. And I'm like, and find another one. I was like, oh, well, cool. I'm just gonna do that until I find something. And then I eventually found a job selling furniture. I was assistant manager at a furniture store
that's right,
that closed down since I left. But I found a manager that I went in. So Trey, this is Trey's teachings in effect. Trey told me
perfect
to go to the interview with our class schedule and highlight the classes. He highlighted all the classes he wanted me taking. And he's like, this is my other work schedule. I need to be able to make these times, these classes. And I went into the interview with my resume. I was pretty qualified. I had retail, and then I
right. You were like, I got this job in the bag. This is pretty good.
Yeah. But then the manager there was like, well, you're the most qualified, and I'm willing to work around your training schedule. And I was like, sick.
Right.
And I walked out there. I walked out of there with the job, went straight to training, and I was like, Trey, it worked.
You're never gonna believe this. The highlighter, it did its job.
It worked.
It worked.
And it was and that's just like a small thing that that's like this almost the smallest thing that Trey has taught me that had like a real effect in my life.
I mean, well, and I don't want to absolutely. Trey was that person for me when it came to like, I go, hey, I'm a little hefty. I would like to cut down this and that. And he worked with me on my diet. All he needed was a little bit of like, I know that you're going to work on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. It's just a little bit. Like he goes, here, download this app, keep track of it for 2 weeks, and then come back in 2 weeks.
Bring it back, and I'll tell you how to adjust it. He does that for a bunch of people. Like it's
not that hard, but people go, I got to keep track. And I'm like, yeah. Like it's not that crazy. Like I remember telling friends, I'm like, oh, I'm changing my diet. And they were like,
what?
Why? And I'm like, well, I'm like pudge, and I could probably lose that. And, at that time I'm like, I want to fight. Yeah, 145 for sure. And then I'm like, oh, okay. And then even just that discipline, I still use the same diet. Like I still eat this. Like I'm literally 145, like 150. Like I did its job. But it's just, he needs to know. And I have a story about Zach's gym, Zach Cummings, the one in Gladstone. Same thing. I had the same attitude like Joe Johnson. I came in, I saw the validation stuff, and I go, I want that. He goes, no, you don't. Like, laughed in my face, right? And he's like, so I'm guessing they can sense that insecurity, and they're like, we need to like bring out like the good part. So let's take whatever you're holding on to and kind of release it. And it did that for me. So.
Well, it's not even like it's not even they can sense it. I'm sure they can sense it. They've been doing it long enough.
They are
but like
I just come teach.
What I have found working at the gym is there's a difference between words and actions. And the people that come in and say something and then do it tend to succeed.
Yep. But
the people who come in and say something and then try and skate by are destined to fail. It's like you need like words without action are just delusion.
Yep. Oh, it's so good, dude.
I'm just regurgitating everything I've heard.
Oh, well, good. Well, then whoever regurgitated
this is who I've become because I've been around all these people.
See, humble, so humble. I'm like, oh, that's so good, Gomi. He's like, I'm just regurgitating what I heard.
Yeah. Well, that's my whole thing. I'm just a copycat. I mean, all my fighting style is just, okay, I see that, I can do that. And just where do I put that?
Right. So where do I put it in my tool belt? Well, and something else that was like very impactful was in the midst of my struggle when I was there, and I had questions. You would answer them just the way you said, right? The personality, your humble, kind, like behavior, not necessarily, on the mats. It's like go time. but also like I'm not here to kill you. Right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, if you're trying to kill every training partner you're with, soon you're not going to have any training partners.
Yeah.
And like, I don't hate anyone at our gym. I don't have bad feelings at anyone. Like, they're the reason I'm so good.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I have to take care of them as much as possible.
Right.
Like, if I accidentally hurt someone, I feel terrible for days. Like, I accidentally like I just brood on it, and then like 3 days later I text them and I'm like, hey, are you feeling okay? Like,
I remember, do you remember my apologetic phase when I would apologize for anything and you go, stop apologizing?
yeah, dude, we'd be sparring and you would get a good shot on me and you'd be like, oh, sorry. And I'll be like, shut up, bro. Like,
that's exactly what you'd say.
Like,
You're
shut
like,
up,
no,
stop
it's
talking.
fucking good.
Yeah, stop. Like,
I'm
hit me. Like,
yeah, I'm like, oh, we're okay.
yeah,
But then you told me this story and it was, you were like, I remember I was just angry. I couldn't get it. Something wasn't clicking. And I walked off like, what the fuck? Like, I was really upset.
Mhm.
And you were like, hey, like, it's totally fine. Like, everything's fine. You're
Mhm.
like, I had the same thing. Like, I was in here. I was drained, emotional. Shit was going wrong when I was in here for, like, the first couple months. And he goes, dude, Trey was there with me on the mat. When I was like, you were like, I was, like, almost crying.
I was crying.
You were crying?
Yeah, I could tell that story if you want me to.
Yeah, tell that. I love that.
I think it was like 2 months. Like, it was, I think I had word that he was trying to find me a fight.
Mhm.
I was like maybe 2-3 months into training. And like, I had really, like, I started going every day, Monday through Saturday. Like, I'm doing what Trey told me to. And I feel myself getting better.
Right.
But like, I'm not the best in the room for sure. I'm still not the best in the room, but I was like low tier, still a beginner at that
Right.
point. And just, I really just had cardio and I was athletic. But like, in terms of all the technique I know now is like a small fraction of what I know now. And I remember one kickboxing class. I did jujitsu. Then I went to kickboxing, and it was like a smaller class. But I remember I had cauliflower ear, had a headgear on too,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going with Duran Carlos,
Oh, yeah.
and he lit me up. Like, he wasn't hitting me too hard,
Right.
but like,
Was it like
he
volume,
was
just volume?
making contact, and it was,
Boom.
and like, I had a thing where when I first started training, I would throw up a lot,
Mm.
but never in grappling because I can grapple with my eyes closed.
Right.
It was always when the striking was added in MMA and kickboxing rounds, I would just get so emotional, and I didn't realize that's what it was.
Oh.
Until I was like, Trey, I don't know what's going on. I just keep throwing up, and he's like, yeah, you're scared. And I'm like, I'm not scared.
You were like,
and then
I'm Baby Shark.
and then I really thought about it, and then like, I slowly saw, like, the more comfortable I got on my feet and the more I kept my eyes open, like, I didn't feel that way anymore. And then like, I'll get to one thing after that, but the story was, I got beat up by Duran Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going with Trey right after.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And Trey is on one tonight. Like, he's like, I'm gonna show this kid. And he's just making contact. He's not beating me up, but like, I don't know how to respond to what he's giving me.
Right.
And I literally just like drop to my knees and I just start bawling. And like, my girlfriend at the time is like on the bench because she took kickboxing too. And I'm just
Right.
like, I'm in shambles. I like take my gloves off. I rip my headgear off, and I'm just like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, I don't know if this is really what I want to do.
Right.
And Trey like sat down there and like told me his whole pretty much told me his whole martial arts story and like all the adversity he faced.
Right.
And like, I went home and I just thought about what he told me, and I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Like he, like, one thing he said is like, because it was really an insecurity thing for
Right.
me. It's like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I have the potential in me. And I remember him saying there, it's like, we're winners and winners win. And if you don't think you're great, then believe that I'm great and we'll go be great together. Like, win with me. So like, it's like he like invited me to, like, he invited me to go be successful with him.
Right.
And I was like thinking about that, and I was like, well, dang, if this guy's crazy enough to believe that, I'm going to follow him, and I'm gonna believe in him. And then eventually that just became self-belief. And then I started to see what he was teaching me in effect. Like, I won fights. I saw our system come into fruition. I use everything he teaches me every day.
Right.
in rounds. Like it's like I focus so much on the technique that it's like it's just a science at this point. It's not emotional. I don't fight from emotion. I don't fight for like confidence anymore. It's like I am just like cold. And
Yeah.
I just want to implement what I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
It's like like what we like to say. It's a demonstration, not a competition.
Right.
It's like I'm not coming to compete with you. I'm here to demonstrate.
Oh, that's fucking great. All this advice.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm missing out. I have to go back.
After that, I just didn't never look back.
Yeah.
That was the turning point in my training, and then I won my first fight, and then it just picked up from there, one after another.
So I remember the same thing. You did the same thing to me then. Cuz yeah, that's exactly what I did. Cuz I was like, "Oh, I don't think I'm good. I don't grapple." I was like, I can't do what you do." And you're like, "Just be like learn every day." And I'm like, "What do you mean? But then what if I?" And you're like, "You'll just feel it." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And then
no one does when I say it.
And then I would know when like someone moved to a certain spot. I go,
Mhm.
I know what to do.
Exactly.
It just hit like that. It's hard to explain that to someone. And
There's no explanation. That's why you just have to like really hope that they stick with training.
yeah. Do you have success? Do you bring people in? Have you ever brought any of those guys that you do disc golf with? Have you ever like brought them in?
I've tried to. They've said they were gonna come try. It's really hard to get people that aren't
It is.
That don't have a combat sport background into this because it's so different. Like
Yeah.
like wrestlers gravitate towards it because it's so close to combative wrestling. Like
Yeah.
but if you bring someone that played baseball their whole life into a jiu-jitsu room, they're gonna be like, "What's this? This is gay."
Yeah. They're like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, why are you rubbing up on him, bro? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to choke him, but he's trying to choke me. But
Right.
that's
Also,
fine. That's fine. Cool.
Whatever you want. You're like, yeah, but that dudede's dressed like Spider-Man, and you're
Yeah, for
'cause
the
I'm-
rash guards.
that's a weird one.
There's a peacock side of jiu-jitsu.
I'm in one of these walls. I'm gonna hang up my Spider-Man rash guard, but I have my Muay Thai shorts over there. I just got back, but no, it's not even at this point about. And something you taught me is like I said I don't want to hurt people, and you were like I don't want to hurt people.
Mm.
You're like I'm like you said I'm here to learn this science and then be able to demonstrate that science.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, and that's enough to make the dopamine go up, the success that I require,
Mm-hmm.
and then my favorite is that you described planting confidence in yourself when you have none. That's an amazing teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Trey's an amazing teacher and an amazing person who's taught me. He even gives us books to read, man.
Yeah, we have books of the month, like, and they're like, whether it's about like the last one we did was the oxygen advantage, and it was the importance of nasal breathing and like how mouth,
Which was a big deal.
yeah, how mouth breathe. Like I swear, like after we read that book, we would constantly remind people, and then everyone would be like, all right, nose breathing. Like
they would just do it.
They would just do it. They like we had a goal. We had to do the entire jiu-jitsu warm up, breathing through our nose.
That's right.
Like,
I remember that goal.
And like and that's still like reminiscent. Like that's like we're not as on it as it was when we were reading the book, but it's still like Trey still mentions it. People still try and do it for the warm up. Like it's ingrained in our society now, like in our little culture,
Which is important.
And then we'll reread it sometime in the future, and then try and go crazy with it again.
Yeah, we're like, all right, back to the breathing. But I read the same thing. I don't know if it was the same book or something similar, but it was that you can do like a long breath and then go all the way and go like as higher. And just doing that, it was like does the same spike as like if you needed an anxiety pill.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, from breathing? They're like, yeah, from that deep pushing past and then like slowly out your mouth.
And people recommend like deep breathing for before going to sleep. Helps you fall asleep easier because it calms you. And it's amazing for cardio. Like we in the boxing advantage they practice breath holds,
right?
But they practice it on the exhale. So like you would take a deep breath out, blow or deep breath in, blow everything out, and then hold. And then that is the equivalent. You do that multiple times in this kind of system.
Dang, I just did it myself. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah, you do it multiple times in this kind of like timed system. You kind of work your way up higher and higher quantities of time. And it's like the equivalent to training at altitude. Like,
that's the same?
Yeah.
Pushing it down there?
Yeah.
And just holding it?
Yeah, because
Holy-
your VO2 max is getting like lower and lower. Like you're reliant on less oxygen. Like
Holy shit.
the whole point of the book is spoiler alert. The whole point of the book is too much oxygen is bad for you, just like too much of anything else. So like nasal breathing is like the correct amount of oxygen meant to be in our body at any given time,
and circulating through
through
the proper,
because you take in a
man.
lot of oxygen while mouth breathing.
Yeah, I looked at you like you knew, like you were in the doctor's office. But I remember I was like, yeah, you remember, like in my head.
Yeah, I remember. I was there.
Yeah, you were there. I was 15, and yeah. But so I have that deviated septum, and so I had 90% blockage, and then like 40% I could use on this side, 10% on this side, and they were like, we have to fix that, because I kept going like when I'm running cross country, like just breathing, and they're like, I'm like, there's no way.
There's no way.
And
I'm suffocating right now.
And so they had to go in there, fix it, put the stents in there, and then take them out eventually. But just that little change, like I still catch myself doing it because obviously I've done it most of my life up to that point.
Out of habit. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I'm like, oh, I forget. I can use all of that to go through. And I remember Trey was always the one to cultivate, like, okay, now do it with like just your nose on the warm-ups. And I'm like, I want to be the best.
I want to be the best.
So I better do this with the warm-ups. And then I go,
yeah.
And I'm like, maybe it's not. Maybe it's still 40-10. I don't know. But it's so hard to try and describe the emotion of going into a place you've never been, right? And it's a combat place. But the theme of it isn't combat. It's about self-improvement. And you don't find that out until you're there, you're consistent. You guys were still texting. You're texting like, hey, where you at, man?
Yeah, we if we haven't seen you, like that's one thing that's different between us and a lot of other like MMA gyms. It's like if we don't see you for a little bit, we're gonna look up your phone number on your account and be like, hey, bro, are you good? Like, are you still training? Are you okay? Like,
oh, I'm just going through. And the best thing was that if I something I have found through talking with like a professional person, therapist, whatever you want to call them, is that I have to learn to like tell someone that. So like I'd be like, hey, I can't make it to the gym. It's got some stuff going on. But then I'd call and be like, hey, I've got like this serious issue that I can't discuss on the podcast. I really can't do this or do that. And you're like, oh, no, it's fine, man. Like, take care of your business, whether it's like with my kid or with, all this stuff. And a lot of this like deep philosophical but yet easy to grasp concepts now get to be passed down to my kid. So like my son came in here and goes, wow, Dad, like you're doing it. And it's like, it just takes dedication, hard work, but you also have to know the adversity. And I'm like, oh shit, he's only 8.
Yeah.
I'm like teaching these things.
Teach him about the desert early.
Exactly.
The desert.
I remember I was like, I told Trey something, and it was like a 15-minute conversation, and he goes, man, you are walking through a big desert right now. And I was like, I know. I might need that camo on the desk.
Yeah.
Like I might need that. But I am so glad that I still have a good relationship with you and with all the guys there, because it's not about who's better, who's worse. It's all self-improvement. And I remember, spoiler alert, I was going to be like, surprise, I'm back. But you're here. You're the general manager. So now you know.
Yeah. I'll know. But
But
I'll keep it under wraps.
Is there any way to conclude this that we could help you? Is there any kind of things that we can do before your next fight? Do you have anything that you want to end with?
Well, I'd like to thank the sponsors I do have.
Yes.
But before that, I don't think you can do anything else other than. I mean, this is a great opportunity to speak.
Oh
with
shit!
you
I
and
never
talk
got to the
about it.
thing I wanted to cultivate through this.
Oh, let's
So-
cultivate it before.
That's
before.
right. I gapped it. But something that I really want to do in this area is that, so not only from you guys from like the gym, but then I also kind of just was around Kansas City. My new job's in Kansas City. So I'm going down the streets. I'm looking at these businesses. I'm looking at places. And one, it goes, okay, it's feasible. Two, there's so much talent in this area that hasn't been cultivated,
Mhm.
that hasn't been dug up. No one knows really a lot
Mhm.
about it. And I'm looking at like you and like you said, Lucas, there's Nick, there's Zach, like all these
Mhm.
guys that are coming up that, and like, who knows? I saw Zach and someone with a leg kick
Yeah.
as a
It's
pro.
brutal.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like at any minute you realize these people have talent that they could get called to the UFC. Like, is 7-0, come to the Contender,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's unfathomable. And so the idea that like people, one, don't know about it, or two, don't have a platform or a place to talk about it, that's what this is here for.
Mm-hmm.
They can come here. We can cultivate this community similar to the way you guys have at the gym, right? And help people out. You know, like, okay, maybe you need a sponsor because maybe bills are tough this month, right?
Mhm.
Okay, great. You know, I don't know how that whole sponsorship works, but
I don't either, bro. I just
Yeah.
train and fight.
I'm telling you right now, but I love that jacket.
Thank you.
And-
Thank you. We'll get to that.
And so I have this idea of like, you know, the LLC that this is run through to host these events and have these things where people can connect in just ways that I never even thought possible. Because I never even thought this was possible.
Mm-hmm.
But many of the lessons that I used to overcome my adversity, overcome all of the situations, is from just being in that gym with you in that single moment. And so you were on a list of all these people. You are on number one list. Like it was number one. And I was like, so I can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I hope you had a good time.
Oh, this is awesome, bro. I mean, this
I know.
is the best.
Now tell me about that jacket.
This jacket. So before we end, I'd like to thank my sponsor, Supreme Sport Nutrition. They help me out with my supplements, and I really believe in their products. So definitely check them out. If you look at my Instagram, glitchy_MMA.
Because you're so fast. The
Yeah,
flash.
I glitch. I look like I'm glitching too. You can check out their Instagram. It's in my bio. There's also a 10% discount code if you use Gomi MMA, GOMI MMA. And then my other sponsor, Poncho's Blanket. That's what I'm wearing right now. This is their newest aviator. It's the bomber jacket.
Oh, it's fly.
Looks super dope. They have tons of backpacks, blankets. They're located in the Crossroads at the Bower. I don't know the exact address, but if you look up the Bower, it'll be in the art district. And they got a little shop set up right there. They're also doing online sales as well. And those are my only two sponsors. And it's not like it's just companies I like and that I know, and they're small businesses that need to get heard, especially Poncho's Blanket. This is actually everything. Quick commercial.
No, you're fine. Tell me all about the jacket.
Poncho's Blanket is made by artisans. Every item is made by artisans in Mexico, and it's one person makes one item. So they live and breathe this one item until from start to finish, and then all the proceeds go back to the business. But as well, they just started helping out human trafficking victims in Kansas City area, and they've always
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
given profit to the artisans themselves, because they're hand looming these.
Oh my! No wonder it looks so great.
Yeah, so they're super high quality, and it goes to a good cause, and they look dope. So
They do, but like that's an example of a business that could plug into like this pipeline.
Exactly.
Love it. I love it.
Exactly. Owned by shout out Jonathan Garvey and Joseph, his brother. They're the owners. John is a jiu-jitsu purple belt.
Heck yeah.
So they understand the grind. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Gomi, I appreciate your time so much. And, feel free to come on back.
Dude, I'd love to be back after more successes.
Yeah, let's get back after a fight or two, huh?
Yeah.
At 125. All right, Gomi. Thank you for your time, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.